episode 61. So today, for a topic, someone had asked about character development, developing characters and whatnot, and an aspect of that I have, and I'm sorry I'm working while I'm doing this, but I have a deadline. Part of the aspect that I've thought about recently is, when should you, and I think I've talked about this, but when should you put up like a webcomic, for example? How developed visually should the character be, and should you wait until the character is perfect? My own opinion on this is that if you're hired to do a book, and it's most places that if you're hired to do a book are going to want you to stay on model, like come up with character design, stay on it. If you're doing a book that's say a 150 page graphic novel or something like that, and you're committing a chunk of time all at once to getting it done, spend some time. There's no excuse really not to keep it on kind of model. However, if you're doing like a side project that's kind of an ongoing thing, and the question is, do I go ahead and wait until I can have enough time to finish this design before I start the story, or let the character kind of evolve as the story goes along visually? I would go ahead and start the story. In fact, that's what I did with William the Last. If you look at the first chapter of William the Last, they're still, like, the two characters, William and Ella, are the same. You can tell who they are. I mean, they're not that radically different. But there are certain subtle things that I kind of developed over the course of 150 pages that I liked. And now I draw them the same every time. But for me, it was just a matter of time. I mean, I was, for something that I'm not getting paid for, that I'm working on it as often as I can here and there. It's better to have the story told and make sure the art is good. And if it's an ongoing thing like William the Last, it's okay for the characters to change and develop. If Charles Schultz had waited until he got that what you think of as Charlie Brown, there would probably not be a Charlie Brown. So if you look at the old Peanuts, when it was called Little Folks, you can tell who the characters are, but man, they look, to us, they look just like, really, that's what they look like? Most comic strips end up kind of doing that. The characters, the more you draw something, you'll mature as an artist, and that character will mature. So there are only so many years that you have in this world, and comics takes a long time. So you have to ask yourself, what's more important? Having the work done with the characters that people notice progress, or waiting with the possibility of not having it done? Also, I think if you're doing it sequentially, like, over a period of time, the more you read a book, the characters change kind of organically. There's not a huge jarring, not like you start a story and then you put it aside for 5 years, then you go back to it, and then wow, all of a sudden you're a better artist, and there's a huge increase in quality, which shows it's kind of jarring. But if it's gradual over time, I think the reader, one, doesn't necessarily know it consciously, but two, I think that can be kind of interesting to see how a character has changed, how an artist has grown during that time. So that's just from the visual aspect of character development. That's not getting into all the character as in backstory and who they are and all that stuff. Maybe I'll do that next week. So now I gotta finish up G.I. Joe 242 and get as much done in the next few days as I can. And right now I am doing the most time-consuming thing, using a triangle. My dad, as a side note, I'm drawing all the straight lines. I'm drawing a his tank right now, and straight edge stuff can take longer than just the figure stuff. But so this straight edge, I inherited my dad's old drafting stuff. He was a little obsessed with putting his name on things, and he had like an engraver, so everything I have has his name engraved on it. It has room 219, and I am pretty sure. Oh, and it says ninth. I've noticed it overlooked after using this for years. I think he had this in ninth grade. Apparently, I don't know if he was taking a drafting class or what. Anyway, so this is old, and I'm using it to ink his tanks, which would have drove my father crazy because he always got mad when I used his stuff for inking. But sorry, Dad. All right. See you next time.